El-Rufai deserve to have been arrested long time ago. El-Rufai is not innocent of what is happening to him. Just that Tinubu is over-dramatizing it. El-Rufai ought to not even be under EFCC or DSS arrest. Oh, El-Rufai is supposed to join Charles Taylor, where he is. El-Rufai was in government when thousands of Christians were killed. I don't know why only Vanguard wrote that story, because I also watched it on TV. But if you browse internet now, it's only Vanguard that you will see come out, where El-Rufai admitted that he went to pay off the Fulani terrorists who were coming in to kill Southern Kaduna people. El-Rufai made that admission when he was a governor, his first term. He made the admission that he traveled abroad to settle Fulani killers, not to kill Southern Kaduna. I was born in Southern Kaduna, so I know very much about what is happening there, how they kill them.
Welcome to Naija Unfiltered, a symphony podcast. And our guest on today's edition of the program is the National Coordinator of Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, Comrade Emmanuel Onwubiko.
Yeah,
good to have you on CIFA.
A pleasure. Thank you.
All right, let's go through what has been happening in the polity. Professor Josh Amupon, the current INEC chairman, was exposed via his 2023 Twitter post in which he replied to APC National Youth Leader Dayo Israel, victory is sure, after a post about flipping an Igbo-dominated polling unit in Lagos and other issues around that. INEC's job is to protect our democracy. Yet, we have a chairman, Amupon, whose X account shows support for the APC. Some have said he's an APC apologist. Some have said he's an APC sympathizer. His past tweets are trending. My question now is, what is your opinion in all of this?
I think my opinion is that if Amupon is a man that has integrity, he ought to have resigned, because it has been found out. He's beginning to circulate a kind of counter information that it wasn't him, but he forgot that once you have, once you have anything to do with the social media or internet, everything is there. It's just a question of using forensic investigators or even going straight to the people who run the platforms. It's very easy. So for him to now come out to deny that he wasn't the one that was running that page, he has to prove to Nigerians that he wasn't actually the one. Then how come that his email address, his proper names were what was used to open that page, which is exactly what every other person does. Use your number, use your email, use your identity. So if he is denying that, I think it's a matter that should be taken up by the security operatives. But Nigeria has got to a stage where a lot of people don't even trust most of these government institutions. Otherwise, an institution like DSS ought to have, called him into question. You say you don't own this, or even without even letting him know, they have a way of finding out, because just like our prior discussion before we started this, I told you that now it is very, very difficult for anybody to say anything on social media and escape, scot-free. Even if you're hiding somewhere in a Katangora, you're hiding under the tree or in the bush, there are equipment that can determine exactly where you are. They can follow the trail and get to where you are. So if Amupon is trying to play the Oshomole game, Oshomole was allegedly seen with a girl that was caressing his leg in a private jet, and Oshomole said it was AI. Well, if you want to, he didn't even, he wasn't even smart enough to behave like Oshomole. He could have even said it was AI, like what Oshomole said, and Nigerians, You know why people in authority treat Nigerians like we don't matter? Because Nigerians don't follow issues to their logical conclusions. When something sparks up, let's say when terrorists go to a particular community and wipe up the entire people, you will not find any level of national outrage. Even if you find one or two sparks of reactions from organizations, or maybe you find some kind of post that people put on their social media, pages or handles, it fades away almost automatically. So, if you work with people who are in positions of authority in Nigeria, and you are their friends, and you happen to be an investigative journalist, if something happens, And there's a case I have, I don't want to mention it because I was actually directly involved in finding out. Because you ask them, they will tell you, well, it is true, this actually happened, but you know Nigerians now, they're going to forget it and we'll go to another one. And after all, they are fighting a Iran war. So the reason why a lot of government officials think they can eat their cake and have it is because Nigerians are not, they don't have that tenacity of purpose. Nigerians are not resilient. Nigerians are not committed to any particular cause. If Nigerians are committed to a cause, how can you railroad an APC member? An APC member, because the moment you sympathize with the party, you're a member. If you sympathize with terrorists, like the way the man in Kaduna sympathizes with terrorists, he is a terrorist. Any man who is in government, if a government knows the whereabouts of terrorists and doesn't want to arrest them, that government is a terrorist sympathizer. That's how it is. So something has to be done because Amupon is holding a position that can either keep the country together or destroy it. Because the current president, is bent on imposing himself for a second term. And nobody knows what will happen after that second term. He's using all kinds of tricks, all kinds of gimmicks, using the security forces, using ICPC, using EFCC. You can see what is happening to El-Rufai, how they are dragging him from all over the place just for an offense they say he committed when he was a governor. And he left being a governor for a long time. Nobody went for him. They didn't go for him. They only waited until he made a very terrible mistake of saying something that has to do with the National Security Advisor. And, they just went for him. And taking him to court, they will mobilize the entire battalions of soldiers and EFCC, DSS and the rest of them. They will blockade roads, stop other Nigerians from going about their businesses, like what is happening today in Abuja. You cannot pass through the vicinity of the Federal High Court in Abuja. You have a lot of security officials all over the place, block the whole place. And Nigeria is a country that's at war. People are being killed all the time by terrorists, by the so-called bandits, by kidnappers. People are being kidnapped every second. And you're not going to deploy manpower, security officers that are trained and armed to go after those criminals in the society. But you are wasting resources protecting court environments. If they have a person like Nnamdi Kanu, you see a lot of DSS or officials all over the place, even stopping journalists from doing their work. Journalists may not even have access to the courtrooms. Is this a country we want to keep? Do we want to destroy this country? Do we want to destroy the democracy? Why is the president not very much comfortable about his fate in the next election, that he's doing everything possible to scatter the opposition party? It's unfortunate.
All right. Amupon typed victory is sure. And of course, he also typed Asiwaju. And then when people found out, he quickly deleted that tweet. And some persons are saying, is this not criminally action by trying to hide the evidence? And because Nigerians are saying, why should he do that? Wasn't he hiding anything?
Well, fortunately for the opposition politicians who are, apart from one or two of them that are okay, very smart, the rest of them are just waiting for elections. After elections, they just fly to wherever they want to fly and go and enjoy themselves. What the political opposition family ought to have done, it doesn't take rocket science to find out what you want to find out on the social media, on the internet. It's very, very easy. By the way, if you write anything as a journalist, write anything against any of these big men, I'm not even talking about people in government. If you write something that is damaging, that is, okay, let's even use the case of Sahara, the case of other blogs, or bloggers that are not even known. The big men have a way of going to Google straight, or going to the owners of those platforms to delete those posts. And just like what happened when Showore made a comment about the current president, how he called him unprintable names, and then the DSS that ought to be busy chasing after terrorists is wasting public funds, prosecuting Showore for just making a comment, and a comment that is protected under the fundamental rights provisions. And then they are wasting millions prosecuting Showore. Why I brought this issue is because the DSS was able to threaten I think X or whatever, where Showore posted that comment he made about the president when the president went to Brazil and made a comment that corruption was over in Nigeria, when indeed corruption has multiplied. And then you have a DSS that was able to, they did everything possible, and then the post was deleted. You understand? So in the case of this Amupon, I think it's criminal. If he actually deleted that post and the post belongs to him, the opposition people ought to have organized themselves and then have a way of using forensic investigators to ascertain who owns it. But fortunately for them, there are some Nigerians that are based abroad that have actually done the simple thing of finding out that that page belongs to him, Amupon. So it's a shame that the man is still hanging on that job. Does he want to destroy Nigeria? Does he want to destroy Nigeria? I'm sure he has young children. He has young children that are still in the university. He's not an old man. I've met him one-on-one. We used to meet as civil society organizations with INEC. INEC chairman should leave immediately. He shouldn't even wait for ADC to ask him to leave. He should leave immediately because he's going to create uprising in Nigeria. And it's no longer about ADC or APC. It's now about Nigerians versus the oppressors, those who want to remain in power when they have nothing to offer. As long as I'm concerned, as long as a lot of Nigerians are concerned, the president does not have anything to offer other than for him to parade about as president of Nigeria and to have the opportunities of taking care of himself, globetrotting all over the place, going to France. If he has small headache, he flies to France, he goes to US, he goes to that place, and so place. No, I think he has stopped going to US. I don't know his fear for going to US, not going to US. He goes to all kinds of places using our money. Come on. And then you now appointed somebody who is just like his servant. That's Amupon is like a servant to Tinubu. For him to have made that comment they said he made, and he denied that he didn't make it. Okay, since you want to clear your name, why not you, if the opposition has not done that, that is before other Nigerians succeeded in doing that. There's one Nigerian professor, one northern professor that is based in US, a professor in US. I think he's a journalist. He was formerly with Daily Trust. That guy was able to uncover who owns that page, and several other people also did the same. So if I were Amupon, I would be the one that way. Use my own money, don't use INEC money. Because the problem we have in government is that government officials dip their hand into public funds and to prosecute their own personal matters. So Amupon ought to have been interested in clearing his name by officially writing to, if it is X, you write to X. X is based in US. Amupon has been traveling all over the place since he was appointed. I hope you know that. Amupon has been traveling all over the globe. If anywhere they have a seminar about elections, you will see the man. Even if it's Brazil, you will see him wasting public funds that they ought to use to organize elections. He's all over the place. So Amupon could have as well travel to the US, go to the X headquarters with his lawyers, and then other Nigerians that are interested will also go, so that X can tell us who owns that page. But of course, he's just playing about. He's just beating about the bush.
Let's look at it from the context of the Constitution.
Yes.
Clearly disqualifies somebody with any political affiliation or preferences as INEC chairman. Ditto the Electoral Act. So, while we are blaming Amupon, what do we make of the president who will argue intentionally appointed him, knowing that he has a preference for a political party?
Well, the president said the reason why he appointed Amupon is because Amupon is not connected to any political party. He doesn't have a position. But Nigerians have proven the president wrong. Of course, the president is a politician. I'm not trying to excuse him. But Nigerian politicians cannot be trusted. Anything they say, if they say good morning in the morning, you have to really be sure that it is actually good morning. So I don't think anybody even took what the president said with any level of seriousness. So, and then you have a professor of law committing all kinds of mistakes, even a mistake that somebody in primary six will not commit. I want to go back to the case of ADC, where a court made a very simple pronouncement. Some of us, I covered the courts, different courts, from Abuja High Court, Federal High Court, Appeal Court, and Supreme Court. The court made a pronouncement that nobody should do anything that we disturb the matter, and then the man is interpreting the thing to mean that it is when the case was instituted. Antebellum in Latin and whatever is before the act was started, before that court case began. Some of us who did Latin in the seminaries know the meaning of, it doesn't have two meanings, it doesn't have Nigerian meaning. So why should a professor Yeah, I was the professor who became a professor of law. If he doesn't know Latin, I'm surprised how he became a professor of law, because for you to be a lawyer, you must be very conversant with Latin maxims. It is very, very common. You don't even need to go to a seminary like some of us went to Catholic seminaries. You don't need to go to a seminary to know Latin language. You can even run a private course. So you can even go to the internet and browse and see the meaning of what the judge said. And of course, the judge does not have, he cannot exonerate that judge who made that kind of nasty comment in a judgment as very strong as trying to stop the opposition from actually becoming the real opposition that they are. The judge actually wanted to cause problem, cause confusion. What is so difficult in the judge explaining what he means in a judgment? Because a lot of judges who do not want, like, who is that? The father of Charlie Boy, when he was speaker of, yes, I covered the Human Rights Commission that the Opita headed. If Opita is going to make a pronouncement, he makes it very, very plain, in plain English. If you read a lot of his judgments, the Supreme Court, not these characters they have in the Supreme Court now, that can just pick up money, cheap money, and just give out a judgment that will damage their name. They don't care about their names. They don't even care about their own children. If you don't care about your name, what about your children? When they show up somewhere and introduce themselves as a son of so and so person that has already, demonized, self-inflicted a damage on his image and on his integrity or his character, what are my children going to say? That is the question they should ask. But the judges we have right now, not all the judges, some of them even attend convocation ceremonies with politically exposed persons. And when they catch them, they say, "Yeah, I was invited differently." But you were seen hibernating. Having conversations with a man who has a case before you, and you are actually the one that ruled against the other party. I'm talking about the case of the River State governor and his so-called godfather. And they have a judge of the Supreme Court who gave a judgment being found hibernating with Wike in a convocation ground. And you're beginning to, these guys, don't they have shame? And that was how this thing just faded. I don't blame them, I blame Nigeria. Nigerians they don't have, it's like a lot of Nigerians they are wired to just say something today, shout like shout like a dog. The next day, they forget about the thing, and the worst thing keep on happening. Because let me give you an instance. There are so many things that are wrong in the country. About, I think 200 or even 400 people were killed in a community in Kwara State. And the remaining population were captured and taken into the bush. The army couldn't get those people out at that time. No Nigerian person went to the street to protest. It was as if, well, it's them. It's not Kwara people. Let them deal with them now. Yeah, well, there are those people there. Or when this Boko Haram, problem started, some of us who were writing opinions in the media, we were telling Nigerians, particularly Nigerians from the south, do not see Boko Haram affliction as something that is domiciled and located only in the north. Because if something starts in a particular place, by the time they no longer have clients, let me use the word clients, if they no longer have customers who they want to kill, they will look for places where you have people now. That's why you have Boko Haram infiltrating communities in southwest. Boko Haram have infiltrated communities in Ondo State. They have killed a first-class monarch. In fact, as we speak, the people of Ondo State who are very serious-minded, those of them, very few of them, out of the millions they have in Ondo State, just very few, came out on the street to block the road and said, "Governor must take action. You must chase away terrorists who are hiding in our forest," and the rest of them, Then the others are just... So, because of that, Boko Haram is already infiltrating communities. And even today, as we speak, the people they call bandits, I don't know who the bandits are, invaded the community in Ikwere, in River State, and kidnapped the vigilante chief and escaped into the bush. And then, that is it. So, if you think because something is happening in Zamfara State, that Boko Haram people are killing, the Fulani terrorists are killing Hausa people, because that's what is happening in Zamfara State or Katsina. Most of the people that are being killed are Hausas. Those doing the killing are Fulanis. It's like inter-ethnic conflict over ownership of farms, ownership of cows, and the rest of them. That's what's happening. They now turn it into a national issue, and everybody cannot have rest. You can't travel again from Kaduna to Zamfara or travel to Sokoto, unless you are very lucky to escape. Otherwise, 78% of people who travel there are usually kidnapped. So it's a very terrible situation.
Given what the INEC chairman did by freezing the ADC and removing them from their portal, and given that Electoral Act gives mandatory timelines for election processes, what does it make of the chances of ADC with the Electoral Act mathematically making it impossible for them to make the primaries? In plain language, is INEC committing electoral sabotage right now?
That's exactly what INEC is doing. That's exactly what INEC is doing. And that is exactly why this man was brought from University of Jos, where he was teaching. You teach in University of Jos, sometimes it takes you like 3 months before you get a 1 month salary. Now you've been put into a place where you have trillions. Yes, INEC is so rich now that the money that is under their table is just a lot of money. So you brought somebody from maybe from poverty and you put him in a warehouse where you have a lot of dollars. You understand? And the man is just misbehaving. And he doesn't even know that the reason why you are appointed, you are going to make money by the grace of God. You don't even need to steal any money. I am not saying that he has stolen money, but anybody who is in INEC does not need to steal money for him to make money because they are well paid, they are well taken care of. Just like if you are made a commissioner in Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, there was a certain board of, I was also in a board, but not as juicy as NEC. When that board, their time expired, they paid themselves to 2 billion naira each. If you have 2 billion naira in Nigeria, unless you are a drug addict, 2 billion naira can last you a lifetime.
And that's 2 billion of them.
Yes.
2 billion of
can last you a lifetime. And that's why most of them are not actually even making any noise. They're just okay, they're comfortable. So what I'm saying is you don't need to rob the country for you to be rich. If you're appointed into INEC, you're going to make it. And if you make a good name in INEC, you will never lack consultancy, you will never lack job, even in overseas, because people will definitely know, the media will put you there. But you have characters in INEC that they don't care about their own image even. So if Amupon cares about the little thing that is still left in his image, he should resign.
Yes, talking about resignation, calls for resignation is widespread. Civil society, ADC, and other interest groups. Yes. But the argument is that even if he resigns or the president sacks him, he will still reappoint another loyalist. What do you think?
Yeah, well, the president will appoint, but he will not have enough time to hold conferences. I'm sure the president had a lot of conferences. Because definitely, if a president wants to hold a meeting with somebody in Aso Rock, it's not too many people that will know that you are there. If you go to Aso Rock, not everybody will know that you are there. So he may have had a lot of conferences, even telephonic conversations, because the telephone that the president uses is protected. It's not the type that anybody will monitor or listening to. He may have had a lot of conversations, either through a third party, they have already planned what to do with this man, but I don't think he will have enough time, except maybe now that pressure is on this man. If he has self-respect, he will resign. Maybe the president by now would have started scouting for another person that they will educate. You understand? But this one that is very, very evident that he is not neutral, he should leave. And then the question you ask, whether electoral act limitation of time and the rest of them, I think it is very impossible for INEC and the president to chase away credible opposition leaders from the next year election. Nigeria is not like Uganda. Nigeria is not like Uganda or Cameroon, where you have total one-party system, where even the party that is in power will be the one that will register other parties to come and contest against them. That sort of thing will not happen in Nigeria because you have committed people who are really, really committed. And in the case of Nigeria now, unless maybe the kind of hunger that people are feeling now, if it's not properly circulated, it's not across the country. Maybe I think I've been seeing sharing rice to some people. I don't know if the people that are collecting the rice, maybe they're very comfortable. Otherwise, most people are hungry. So what is going to happen now is that people must have made up their mind that this is what is going to happen. So I don't think INEC will succeed in getting the opposition politicians out of the way for them not to contest the election. They will contest. I think ADC has even made a plan. They say they want to use the APC's model of consensus. If they want to do that, it doesn't take so much time for them to organize their primaries. In fact, I've even started organizing primaries and conventions, The APC has started doing that. And we pray that the Supreme Court will not behave like the way they did in the Hope Uzodimma's case against Emeka Hedoha, whereby a Hope that came forth was made first, which is mathematically a criminal. It is not possible by a person that came forth, even by the calculation of INEC itself. INEC was in that court. Some of us were in the court to cover that case. Only for the current chief judge, who was the one that she gave that useless judgment. Unfortunately, the American embassy slammed a sanction on her traveling visa ban on her and other people who did that injustice. So I hope the Supreme Court, even though the Supreme Court is even worse than what it was that time, the Supreme Court has degenerated down the gutters. Let's pray, because this is something that has to do with our future, especially for some of us who don't have enough resources to airlift our children, because some of us will never travel, even if there's a war, there's a total war in the whole of the country. I'm not going to leave Nigeria for anybody. We will join the war. War is just either you die or you survive. Most of us don't have money to either take our children to maybe England, Canada, or US, to hide them there. So you guys stay there. Let us even see what will happen in this country. So it's just for that purpose that people are saying, let us organize election that at least look credible. So I hope the Supreme Court will not play supreme foolery with the judgment they're going to bring out after today's hearing. It's not all about ADs, it's about Nigerians versus Tinubu, who is afraid of opposition. I don't know why somebody who claims to be a pro-democrat, which we know he's not even a pro-democrat, because if you look at the Abacha period, when some of us were on the streets, some of us were even very young, we were just entering higher institutions, some of us who were on the street of Lagos, fighting for the revalidation of the victory that Emmanuel Abiola got. What do you call him, Tinubu? Who is a coward? Ran away and went to United Kingdom.
Why do you say he's a coward?
He's a coward because why didn't he stay back? All of us stayed back here. Femi Falana, did he run away? Didn't you see him in Nigeria here fighting? Olisa Bakoba, did he run away?
He had to leave to fight.
No, it is wrong. Most of those guys I've mentioned now were even much more vocal than Tinubu. Tinubu is not very articulate, so he wasn't even making serious verbal position. Femi Falana was always Ganifa and me was always fighting Abacha. Did he run away? Tinubu is just a coward. He just ran away and went to probably because he's a very rich person, so he's just afraid. He don't want to die. He has a lot of money, so he had to run to London to go and hide. And now you are saying, I'm a pro-democrat. What kind of pro-democrat? If you're a pro-democrat, why are you afraid of the opposition? Why are you afraid of? Why are you spending our money fighting Peter Obi? If you calculate properly, if Nigeria is a country that functions properly, and now you have the auditing firms, let us have independent auditing firms to audit how much the government has spent, fighting just one man, not even about Atiku. They're also fighting Atiku. But they concentrate all their efforts on Obi, and they make appointments or special advisors who are always speaking about Obi. Like the character from Borno State who was against Tinubu, who called Tinubu so many unprintable names, or the other loafer that was made an ambassador, who even organized protest against Tinubu, calling him all kinds of names, a drug baron and the rest, only for Tinubu to appoint him as an ambassador because he recanted. You understand? So I mean, the country is just it's a joke. Let me use that word.
All right, the cardinal responsibility of any responsible government is the protection of lives and property.
Yes.
And in the last, how many days now? Let's say in the last 10 days, reports has it that over 90 people have been killed in the northwest. 49 villagers were massacred in Kebbi, Kwara, Plateau. The emir of Gobia was reportedly killed in Sokoto. 5 worshippers slaughtered on Easter Sunday in Kaduna, with 35 abducted, and Nigeria right now is the 4th when it comes to global terrorism index in terms of death. Do you think the government has abandoned its people?
Government has never even been with the people. The government of Tinubu has always been about himself. Most of the stories we have had since he became president was always how to build a presidential mansion for the VP, when there's enough housing assets where the VP can live for some time, because both the VP and the president, they were not common people before they became who they are. They're very rich people. They have their own houses in Abuja, And then the Nigerian state also have houses for the VP. The first thing he did also spend a lot of money, billions of naira, building a mansion for the VP. The next thing they did was for him to replace his plane worth billions of dollars. And then the next thing he did, if at any point in time where Nigerians are being killed, the next thing you hear is that the president has gone to Australia, he has gone to France, he has gone to Turkey, he goes to all sort of places, and those places he goes to are not all about our interests. They're all about his own interests, because sometimes, even like the time he traveled to Brazil, he disappeared for like 2 weeks. Nobody knows exactly where he was. There were a lot of speculation that he went to France to treat himself. I don't know what else, health condition he has. You understand? And that let's even talk about this health condition of presidents. In America, not quite long ago, the president had a surgery, minor surgery. It was announced publicly what was wrong with him. Trump announced by himself that he was going for surgery and advised President Vance, J.D. Vance will take over that the surgery will last for a few hours. Why do we keep having people who will be airlifted from Nigeria to God knows where, and they spend days? We thought the Muhammad Buhari's scenarios have ended with Buhari. But it's quite unfortunate. And then they don't even tell us the truth. They always lie to us that have gone for so-called conferences and meetings with presidents, and then you see him all over the place moving around with either the old man in England that was holding him, an old man, another younger person holding him, and so that he does not fall. In Turkey, he fell down. So you have a lot of issues that has to do with this government. Government had not been with the people. And then when people were killed, he didn't mention that of Jos. Jos has always had issues of Palm Sunday massacre and December 24th, Christmas Eve massacre. It didn't start with Tinubu. It has always been a tradition. But the security forces have refused to stem the tide. And then this last one that happened during the Palm Sunday, when a lot of people were killed, more than over 100 people were killed. They told us 40. But over 100 people were killed in Jos. The Angwa Rokuba. Everybody. And the unfortunate thing is that Angwa Rokuba is trackable to where you have Division 3, or what they call it, this thing, they call Army Division. The Army Division is not far away from that place. Yes, where the terrorists went and killed so many people. The army did not intervene. And then the president, who said he is the president of the country, that he was going to go and visit the victims, he went to Haipang, he didn't go to Jos. People said he traveled to Jos. He didn't go to Jos. The airport in Plateau State is not in Jos. The airport in Plateau State is in Haipang. Everybody who is a Nigerian that has traveled all across Nigeria, I don't mean those who are either born in Lagos, they stay in Lagos for 50 years. If you are a Nigerian, you must have traveled to places. You should have known that the airport in Jos, in Plateau State, is not in Jos. The president went to Haipang and stopped in Haipang. They now went and arranged some people, some arrangee kind of thing, and brought to the airport for him to address. Is that what he's supposed to do? And then let's not even talk about the president alone. What about the governor who was in an armored car? The governor, you say you're a governor of a state, and your people were killed, and you went there to see what happened. The terrorists have already run away, and you're still afraid. You're hiding inside the armored car, and you call yourself a governor. If you are so unsure of your own security, why did you campaign to become governor? If you can't protect your people, why not resign? The governor of Plateau State ought to have resigned a long time ago, but because we have a system where even the houses of assemblies are made up of houseboys of governors. Let me use that word, because even in my own state, that is even the worst, where you have Imo State, where you have a case of, you have a governor who spends all his time in Metama. He lives in Metama, his house there, and from there he goes to Asoro. He's always in Asoro, right? Anytime the president is going to have any event, you will see the governor of Imo State. And then the people are talking in hushed voices, because if I live in my state and I'm talking the way I'm talking from Abuja here, I would have been killed a long time ago. Or either they try to arrest you, if they can't arrest you, they will sniff you out and kill you. Imo State is like most other states where they don't allow critics to exist freely. In Ebonyi State, if they catch you, they're going to flog you. They flog you. They flog journalists who write stories that they want. They flog you or make you to you understand. And then the State House of Assembly in Imo State cannot even summon the governor and say, why are you always in Abuja? Why can't you stay in Owerri? And you go to Imo State, our state, I have a house in Owerri. Every time I go home, I will stay at least up to a week. There will be no light. No light. And every time, the person taking care of the house always asks me to pay every month, even though it's little money. And then, there's no light anywhere. around that place. And it's not as if it's a house that is located in one village. It's just off Hadel Junction. That is right inside it. You just less than 3 minutes you drive to Rugby, you drive to where the governor's office is, and yet they don't have light. Most people in Owerri don't have light. Are you talking about the rural communities in Imo State? They don't have light for years. There's no governance going on there. The only thing that the governor has done in the last how many years that he's been there for like 4 or 5 years now is just which is good. I commend him for that. The federal highway he said he built, the highway that leads from Owerri to up to Okiwe, or the one that leads from Owerri to Olo, which is a very wonderful job that the governor has done. But outside those 2 roads, there's nothing going on.
At least more people can celebrate that. There are
some, there's only at least
states where they have nothing to show.
Exactly. Like in Edo State, where you have a governor that spends so much money paying the Agbero that goes around. Your governor is coming to a place now. If the governor is coming to this place for interview, the Agbero will come first before him. Let's say I'm the governor of, I can't even pronounce his name, Obepolo or whatever he call it. If the one that is coming for this interview, the Agbero that will be shouting his name, the press singer, would have been by your gate 30 minutes before he comes. Immediately the governor, inside the governor, he starts singing his praises like this is second Jesus. You understand? So that's what they do in most of these other states, praise singing. They don't care about governance.
All right. We are hearing disturbing stories about bandits now possessing anti-aircraft weapons. They are shooting down military jets we land. And if a criminal organization has military-grade anti-aircraft capability inside Nigeria, what does that say about our military institution and security apparatus?
It says a lot. It says a lot about procurement corruption in the system. It says so much about protecting what Nigeria has been able to buy. Even the second-hand things that they buy for the military, they don't protect them well enough. When soldiers mobilize to theaters of battles, sometimes you see those ragtag. They're no longer ragtag. We call them ragtag terrorists. They're very sophisticated because most of them were trained in places like Chad, some were trained in Libya, some were trained in Somalia. So those boys, you see them dressing like ruffians. They are not ruffians. They're well trained. They are really militants. They're militants who are out. They believe that what they're fighting is jihad. They're fighting on behalf of their own religion. They want to set up countries like what they have in Afghanistan. That's what they're trying to set up in Nigeria. But foolishly, they think Nigeria is like Afghanistan, where you have only Muslims. Even the real Muslims don't even want to have such an establishment. So you have those guys, most of the weapons they display were stolen from the Nigerian army. And then you have a cases of generals. Maybe, I don't know whether they manufacture generals in Nigeria like the way they manufacture pure water. Otherwise, if you go to a place like the US, do you know what it means for you to be a brigadier general, a general in US Army? How many generals? I don't think America has more than 50 generals. I don't think. Because, or maybe because they don't come out like the way general. Like I saw one general in Abia State. He was going home for Easter. More than 50 cars he used to go home. A general is coming back home. He just got promoted. I don't want to mention his name. I know his name. It's a part of Abia State. He was just going there and a general is. So generals, either the general has been, so it has become so cheap now in Nigeria to become a general. But it's not cheap, as people would think, because it takes them years. No matter how dull you are, for you to be a general, it takes you like up to 30-something years. The job you are doing for 30-something years is no longer a small job. So you have generals being killed by boys who didn't even go to primary school. I mean, it's quite unfortunate. And then when the killing happens, they try to rationalize it. I mean, try to explain it. This last one, the explanation, I just felt like if I was close to the person giving that explanation, maybe I thank God I'm no longer very active as a journalist. If I'm there and I'm very close to the person, I will slap him. Because that explanation he made is an insult to our intelligence. You're saying that the man was trying to start his armored vehicle and the thing could not, the thing had already been demobilized. Who demobilized it? Can a vehicle be set demobilized in a battlefield? So what kind of an idiotic explanation is that? And then the other guy that was killed, they haven't even found his corpse. They don't know whether he's dead or he's not dead. The Oba of a guy. The first general they killed. And they keep killing generals like they're killing like they're killing fowls. And then not even talking about the number of other ranks that have been killed. They kill them like chickens. The Boko Haram people. And then you have a chief of defense staff who ought to have been sacked. In fact, he ought to have been prosecuted for negligence of duty, dereliction of duty. The current chief of defense staff ought to have been dismissed and prosecuted. You have him going all over. The other time he went to one of these small African countries to go and collect award, either Sierra Leone or so. And then Nigeria is on fire, you're going to go collect award in Sierra Leone. And then you're trying to rationalize the killing of a general, the last general, the guy from Edo State they killed. You cannot explain it. It's an unpardonable dereliction of duty. And the reason why these things keep happening is because when they happen, beginning from even Buhari's era, when they kill top-ranking military officers or when they kill Nigerians, because everybody matters. It doesn't matter whether you're a general or you are a farmer. If Boko Haram had killed like 30 villagers or even one villager, if you watch Sky News, you watch CNN, you watch some of these television stations that are coming from the advanced democracies. Let me even use Sky News that I'm very used to. If something happens in Britain, let's say a child of 2 years was killed, the kind of focus the TV gives to it, the whole country is making an effort to make sure that the person that killed that person is arrested. There's no accountability in Nigeria. People kill, and they are called prodigal sons. You have a chief of defense staff being allowed to insult all of us, and he has not been arrested. Even the Christians that ought to be on the streets are protesting. Why should the chief of defense staff compare Boko Haram with prodigal son? Does he read his Bible at all? He's a Christian. Maybe he doesn't have a copy of the Bible. You should go and read who the prodigal son is. The prodigal son is not a terrorist. Prodigal son was just a rascal who felt that he has come of age. My daddy is very rich, and we're just two. So please give me my own money. Let me just, maybe they're living somewhere in Imo State. The father said, no, give me my money. I want to go to Abuja. And the father said, okay, are you sure you're okay with that? The father gave him money. He went to Lagos. He went to Abuja and started carrying all the Abuja babes. He started carrying all the girls in Zone 4. By the time he ended up finishing his money, he remembered that it's a tough time. He even started eating from where they rear pigs, eating foods that are meant for pigs. So when he came back to his senses, he decided to go back to his father because his father was still very rich. That is the story of the prodigal son. If the chief of defense staff doesn't have a copy of the Bible, maybe he has not even gone to church since maybe the last 30 years, he should go and ask a local pastor close to him who the prodigal son is. Prodigal son is not the same thing with Boko Haram. Boko Haram is not prodigal son. But Boko Haram does not deserve reintegration. It doesn't deserve rehabilitation. It doesn't deserve de-radicalization even. What Boko Haram deserves is to dispatch them to hell. They belong to hell. They're supposed to go and meet Satan. That's where Boko Haram belongs. They are not prodigal sons.
There is growing debate even among northern elders about whether Nigeria should accept foreign military aid to tackle banditry. Some are asking if the military has reached that point where we can't win the war ourselves. What is your take on this?
Well, using mercenaries is not illegal. Even America has the strongest army in the world. Americans use mercenaries in Afghanistan. The mercenary that fought with the American soldiers in Iraq is a private mercenary of army trained armed officers. Then when you come to Nigeria and they say we do not need mercenaries, we need foreign mercenaries in Nigeria to fight because Nigerian soldiers have told us that they are not experts in asymmetrical warfare. And then the government has refused to do the commonest, somebody that has a common sense. If those in government really have common sense, that's why I think they don't have common sense. If anybody in government, particularly the Mr. President who has the power, or the commissioners of police who have the power to give arms, particularly the parliament, they should have amended the law, relevant laws, to allow people to carry AK-49 and military-grade weapons. Because if you go to chapter 4 of the Constitution, the most basic right is the right to life. And once your life is cut off, once you are dead, that is the only human right that you cannot recover. And then you have people being killed like chickens, and people, Human Rights Organization of Nigeria has been calling on government to allow people to carry AK-49, AK-47, AK-49, and even weapons that are even higher than that, which is what these boys that didn't even go to private school are carrying. Now they are even better than us because they are experts on social media. They post people they kidnap, they post their weapons, everybody sees the kind of weapons they carry. And yet they don't want to arm Nigerians. And the soldiers we have, who are legally authorized to carry those weapons, We simply go to the theater of war, and when a little thing happens, they will abandon those weapons, and these boys will carry it away. And then you have a soldier, a fighting army that cannot devise counter ambush techniques. Soldiers have always been killed in ambush. Even the colonel that was killed yesterday, the colonel, somebody Mohammed, that was killed yesterday, a very nice combatant that was killed. It was an ambush. Most of the soldiers that have been killed was either that they planted, bombs, explosive device, or it's mostly during ambush. Do we not have technology? Do we not have drones that determines where somebody is hiding? Americans, if they're fighting war, have you ever heard that Americans were killed in ambush? You can't kill Americans just in ambush because before. Okay, let me give you a story that I just read this morning as I was coming here. Do you know that in Ukraine, the fights between Ukraine and Russia, yesterday, Ukraine recaptured a part of their country that was taken over by Russia for over a year. You know who they used to capture it? And the soldiers from Russia surrendered to them. They did not surrender to human beings. You know who they surrendered to? Robots. The Ukrainians use robots. These robots that one professor in Nigeria is even, I think they didn't even allow him to leave America. I don't know how he managed to leave America and he became a minister of power in Nigeria. One of these guys, the man who is building, Batnaj is a robotic scientist. And we have so many robotic scientists. Even younger Nigerians have that. A lot of Nigerians are even building robots. Even those in primary and secondary school are building robots as part of their physical whatever. And then Ukrainians use robots. Go and browse the story. I read it as I was coming here, inside the car. Robots were the one that recaptured the place that was seized by Russia, and the Russians surrendered to them. Can't Nigerian soldier, if they are afraid, because they said Igbo people are not joining soldier, people say, why can we join? They are actually joining. Well, I'm just joining enough number. And then one of the soldiers that was fighting the war in Boko State said, sons of governors and the sons, Shehi. Of course, can you imagine somebody asking Shehi to join the army and fight war in Borno State when Shehi is busy sharing rice so that his son can win a election? They will not be happy now. The guy was sacked because he said politicians should also send their children to join the army. What is wrong with what the guy said? You understand? So if you don't want your children to go and die like the children of commoners who don't have any other alternative but to join the army, they are all dying in their thousands. You don't want your children to die. Why can't we invest in technology? Use technology to fight war. Why can't you behave like the Ukrainians? You can imagine how the mighty Russia fighting Ukraine for over how many years, and they have not been able to conquer Ukraine. Although Ukraine has the luck of having assistance from the European Union. But this one that happened yesterday was not with the assistance of the European Union. They developed it locally. They manufactured robots that were fighting like human beings. And the Russians surrendered.
Let's wrap up with this question. I want a straight answer. A compromised INEC chairman, a not bleeding from banditry, an EFCC being weaponized along ethnic lines, El-Rufai in detention, the Naira at its needs. If all of this is happening under our government, how would you describe and rate Tinubu's presidency?
I don't think EFCC is being weaponized for ethnic whatever. EFCC is trying their best. They have other funny things they do. They have other funny cases they go into, and you begin to laugh because when you allow a big thief in government, for instance, what is happening in the power sector, the amount of money that has been invested in the power sector, and then you allow such things to continue to happen. And then when you and I goes to a club, and maybe we're lucky to have a rich man, spread Naira or not, they will arrest all of us because they say we are abusing the Naira. You leave bigger cases and you're chasing a rat. So that's one of the things that I'm against EFCC. But EFCC has actually obtained a lot of convictions, high-profile convictions, including the Accountant General of the Federation that was sentenced to so many years, although the court was also very stupid. The court mentioned that he was sentenced to 70 years in prison. Do you know how many years he's going to spend? He's not even going to spend a night in prison. He's going to walk free. Because they said, because of the language they use. It's the same bad language that they use against ADC. It's the same language they use for that guy. All of us are clapping hands, those who are not conversant with the law. But the man is not going to spend even up to 2 weeks. He will just walk away because this is going to run concurrently. But for the fact that he was convicted, and there are a lot of convictions that EFCC has made, EFCC has her own funny things. Of course, when you have a person who never dreamt in his life that he's going to be chairman of EFCC, and suddenly God buttered his bread and used Tinubu to appoint him. Of course, you expect that there are certain cases that when the master no matter who the person is, except a person that is very exceptional. And of course, El-Rufai deserved to have been arrested a long time ago. El-Rufai is not innocent of what is happening to him. Just that Tinubu is over-dramatizing it. El-Rufai ought not even be under EFCC or DSS arrest. Oh, El-Rufai is supposed to join Charles Taylor, where he is. El-Rufai was in government when thousands of Christians were killed. I don't know why only Vanguard wrote that story, because I also watched it on TV. But if you browse internet now, it's only Vanguard that you will see come out, where El-Rufai admitted that he went to pay off the Fulani terrorists who were coming in to kill Southern Kaduna people. El-Rufai made that admission when he was a governor, his first term. He made the admission that he traveled abroad to settle Fulani killers, not to kill Southern Kaduna. I was born in Southern Kaduna, so I know very much about what is happening there, how they kill them. El-Rufai left in 2023 and imposed his boy, Obasani, who is also dealing with him now, as governor. Obasani was not supposed to win an election. He wasn't even supposed to win a councillorship election. El-Rufai made him senator and still read him into governorship election. El-Rufai ought to have been arrested and taken to ICC for crime against humanity. If you see the amount of people, Southern Kaduna people have been killed, if you know how many communities of Southern Kaduna have been taken over by Fulanis, it's in the media. Media people are actually trying, even risking their lives to write such stories. You understand? So you have a man who has been a governor and has committed the kind of crimes that were committed in Rwanda. El-Rufai, even if he didn't commit it directly, that he was the one that was in charge of security. He was the one that was governor. He ought to have liaised with the president. Buhari was the one who was in government when Fulani people started arming themselves. Then if you remember, a certain governor of Ondo State, the lawyer who married an Igbo woman, who married their sister, the governor said he's giving 24 hours for anybody who is living in the forest. Because Ondo State has a lot of forest. Governor wrote to me, ask people to leave the forest. That is Fulani people. They are the ones that live in the forest. No ordinary person, no people with brain live in the forest. The Fulani in Daji, the Fulani people, there are good Fulani people who live in the town, who are very civilized, who are urbanized, who are very obeying, who are very advanced, who are very educated. A lot of Fulanis, it's just like 15% of Fulanis that are doing all these crimes that you're hearing. They live in the bush. I don't know what they're looking for in that bush. And then the governor said, leave the bush or we're going to get you out. Do you know that Muhammadu Buhari, I don't know whether you're in this country, whether you're in the outer space. Muhammadu Buhari used this boy from Kano State, Garba Shehu, a journalist like us, who issued a statement threatening the governor of Ondo State that why does he want to evacuate Fulani people living in the forest. You understand? And then the other Fulani military, what do you call them? The cow. Military also told the guy that henceforth they won't recognize him as governor, they will do whatever they want to do. And the president didn't say anything, and they were actually doing whatever they want to do. And before you say Jack, the man died mysteriously. The governor who stood his ground, but he did one thing that was good. It was that governor, that late governor, who mobilized the people of Southwest. Very nice people, very great people. If at all, if the people of the governors in Southeast will be as wise as Southwest people, I don't think these terrorists will infiltrate those places. That they're infiltrating now, I don't know what's really happening. But the governors of Southwest, through the leadership of Akeredolu, set up Amupon. Is it what they call it? Amoteku, yeah. Amoteku. And Amoteku is doing so well. Better than the police. And let me even do a final one. You are talking about mercenaries, whether it is illegal to use mercenaries. Is the government not using mercenaries? Didn't you read yesterday? This man from Rivers State, this man that is as part of this room, did he tell you that he sent people to go and fight in Zamfara State? Didn't he meet, what's his name? Asad Dokubo. One of the first people that Tinubu met when he was inaugurated was Asad Dokubo. Asad Dokubo addressed the press. We all watched on TV. Where Asad Dokubo said, his boys are fighting in Imo State. His boys are fighting in Kaduna. Is he not a private soldier? Is he not a mercenary? So why is government resisting the deployment of armed mercenaries? There are mercenaries all over the place that are very good. South Africa, the US, there are mercenaries. Even in Libya that is in trouble, there are mercenaries there. Why can't you use mercenaries to help the army? If the army are overwhelmed, by the way, how much are you even paying somebody that is fighting to claim? I cannot even join the army of Nigeria because they are the poorest paid people all over the world. How can you pay somebody 100,000 or 105,000 to go and fight? And then you have a general who is describing a terrorist as a prodigal son. How do you expect the soldier Maybe because they don't watch TV where they're fighting war. All right, if they watch TV where they're fighting war, if I'm the one, I'll walk away. If the people that are trying to kill me have been described as prodigals, so I say, well, why do I need to kill a prodigal? So I'll walk away, I'll resign. And then you are still looking for people to join the army. How can they join the army?
Just wrap it up. In the light of all I've just said, how would you describe a Tinubu presidency?
Has failed. Tinubu has failed. Tinubu has failed. In fact, if you want to mark him, like some of us, Tinubu is just like some of us who made F9 in mathematics. Tinubu made F9 in leadership, F9 in economics, F9 in the most important sector of governance, security. If you cannot protect people from being killed, if you cannot protect people's property from being destroyed, which is what the Constitution says, as a primary duty of people in government is to protect lives and property. Tinubu has spectacularly failed. And unfortunately, the mistake Tinubu is making is that he makes his appointment based on names. If you're not a Loa Toby, or you're not a Keredolu, or you're not a Amupito, he will not give you an appointment in a very important place. Maybe he can just make you Minister of State in one inconsequential place. You know, Tinubu is a bigot, an ethnic bigot. And ethnic bigotry has destroyed Nigeria. When you have a bigot appointing his boys to go to CBN, to become powerful people in different places, Minister of Finance, for instance, you have the Minister of Finance that ought to have been arrested and jailed. Minister of Finance, the current Minister of Finance should have been arrested.
For what?
Yes, you're asking me for what? For 2 years now, we have not had capital budget finance. Didn't you hear the House of Rep member from Aba say it openly? You guys carry the story. You guys said it. And they've been borrowing money. And when they asked our sister, the woman that is looking like Oyibo, when they asked her what happened, she couldn't even explain herself. The guy was confronting her. You guys have been going to borrow money and say you're going to finance capital budget. Do you know the meaning of non-financing capital budget? Okay, let me give you an example. Maybe some of us who live in Abuja don't even go directly to enjoy such things. You know, primary health center, primary health care. If you don't go to the village, you have people that live in the village. Most villages have primary health centers that are controlled by the Federal Ministry of Health. So if a ministry like Ministry of Health, that capital budget that was approved, mind you, appropriation is a law.
Yeah. And
then you have people violating the law, and they're still being allowed to preside over government or government affairs. The Minister of Finance ought to have been arrested a long time ago, and his Minister of State. And then they don't finance capital budget.
For that, who will move for his sack or his arrest?
Of course, in the House of Rep members.
If the National Assembly is not doing their oversight,
no, they said it.
That was Ikweche moving.
Yes.
But the Ikweche as a member of a committee is not the House of Reps in its entirety moving against. So how will
Nigerians that are benefit? All of us are affected. Because my mother who lives in the village goes to the primary healthcare center. Now the meaning of not approving capital budget is if the roof, most of these primary health centers have roofs that if the kind of wind blows, it blows it away. They cannot rebuild it. They cannot buy Panadol. If the amount of Panadol they have finishes and somebody have malaria, people suffer malaria all the time in the east, for instance. People suffer cholera in the north. So primary healthcare centers will not have to renovate and maybe get their stocks back, Panadol and the rest of them. And then in Abuja, which if you doubt it, you can drive around primary schools, even within the AMAC, primary school roofs are falling all over the place. I don't know of Abuja budget because the Abuja minister has been given free hands to collect tax and spend it the way he wants. That's what the president told him, which is against the law. There's a law that was made that any money that you are generating must enter straight.
TSA, it was excluded.
And the president, who is not the National Assembly, the president has become National Assembly and judiciary at the same time. The president now granted a waiver. They collect a huge amount of money. In fact, before the end of the month now, they have already told me how much I'm going to pay for tax. I don't know whether you guys have had it. Before the end of the month, if you don't pay it, you'll be in trouble. They will seize your money. Yeah. So everybody's going to pay tax clearance. They will evaluate you based on how much they see in your account. You cannot escape it. If they see 1 million in your account, you cannot tell them that I have any 100,000. No. This is 1 million because the government has access to all our financial transactions. You understand? And then you have people who are not respecting the law, and Nigeria is a very unfortunate place. Very unfortunate place.
It's a pleasure having you on Symphony.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.